Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday. Hope you had a great President's Day, Valentine's Day, great holiday. And we are here today to be of service. Let's get those questions rolling. If you didn't catch it, the Ask and Attract and all of the different trainings are free on Spotify, Entrepreneur, iTunes, Google, every platform. It's the playbook. Download the playbook. Here, you can also reach out to me for the books, guides, exercises for free. I'll send you my book, sign it, pay for shipping. David@dmeltzer.com. David@dmeltzer.com. You can also join my text community, Soul Power Music. What's going on? 949-298-2905. Kyle's pumped up. I am pumped up for Vince as well. How cool is that? We got a bunch of great coaches coming on today to help us out. Worksheets are being sent out like crazy. If you haven't got a worksheet, exercises, guides, my book, Playbook with Craig Siegel today, check it out at Entrepreneur, spelled entrepreneur, not entrepreneur. Typos are big with those fat fingers. Let's get some questions going. Thank you for adding these in. Dan, can you talk about how you first started selling watches? Well, it wasn't just watches, right? What I did is I started to buy low and sell high. I got crystal clear on my objective of making a lot of money so I could help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. And the best way that I found to make money was to go ahead and utilize the relationships and knowledge that I had to buy low and sell high. And so I had some relationships with a big manufacturer. I had a person who wanted to buy watches, and I created a margin for myself in the millions of dollars in order to effectuate that. Do that with anything. I pre-sell everything that I can, including with yard sales with my son once a month, going around and Googling and looking up. There's hedging. You can go to, one of the things, especially with shoes, you can go to shoe outlets and just go ahead and look them up on StockX and see what things are selling for. And, it's worth a trip around. You can get a free pair of shoes or hundreds of dollars each time you go to an outlet just by, hedging online. Anyway, multiple ways to buy low, sell high. I have an exercise, buy low, sell high exercise. I had a training on the playbook. Download it. You can just email me, david@dmeltzer.com, or go to Spotify. It's featured there. iTunes is featured there. Entrepreneur is featured there. Just like the Craig Siegel podcast today. We're deep into the 600, 650 or so episodes. So there's plenty of millionaires, billionaires, entrepreneurs, celebrities, athletes, and entertainers to choose from. The Netherlands is here. Soul Power. All right, let's keep this going. How to avoid letting a moment of frustration get out of hand. Well, I institute 4 steps. 1, identifying those moments when you're in primary or secondary fear. And when you identify where you're out of control or out of emotion, then instead of trying to resist it, overcome it, oversell it, go around it, go under it, accelerate through it, just stop. Just stop. Drop down. Hi from Brazil. Hey, Alex. Drop. Roll in the right trajectory by breathing, getting to center and neutral. Stop, drop, and roll. But you need to practice identifying when we're in that ego-based emotion, when we're accelerating in the wrong direction. Perfect. How to use Clubhouse for lead generation. Well, I don't really concern myself with lead generation. I concern myself with empowering others. They'll go. I see Ashley's here. Let me just take one quick question, and then we'll jump on with Ashley Wrights. Rodney Hatfield, that's interesting. All right. What do you think about the superfoods market? It's awesome, right? If we can have choices to eat correctly and to utilize what's best for us, absolutely. All right, let's with Ashley Mansour at Ashley Wrights, expert at how to monetize your knowledge and scale it to a 6-figure and beyond with the power of a simple book. Coming from someone who writes them. Hi, Ashley.
Hey, David. How are you?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on this morning. What's this morning where I am?
Oh my gosh. It's I live where the sun is, so it gets boring out here. Anyway, there's such a huge market in writing books. There's so much confusion and transition and acceleration in writing books. I started writing books years and years ago, and the market has changed, the strategy has changed. The one thing that hasn't changed for me is the ego in writing books.
Mhm.
I still see, so many people, especially who are writing their first book, their biggest thing is I need a publisher. I need Random House on there. And they have, it reminds me of when I was 18 and told my brother, I was a pre-med. I told him I hated hospitals. That's how far misaligned I was by not being more interested than interesting. I thought we'd start with the relationship in writing a book and publishing a book, because I think those are two separate things and they cause a great chasm. And I know if you're writing books about your next level, how to monetize your knowledge and skill to six figures and beyond with the power of books, you understand that relationship between writing a book and publishing a book.
Yeah, that is such a great point. It's funny because I'm doing a training on this later today where I had a question come through about the same exact thing, which is, what do I do about publishing? I need a traditional publisher. I need a big fancy deal. And what I just said is that these days self-publishing has become so sophisticated that actually we can't really even tell the difference. Most people don't know the difference between a self-published book and a traditionally published book. So there's enormous opportunity when you come to think about that. So I just encourage people to think about the writing aspect first, because if you don't have the finished book, the publishing doesn't matter anyway, and that's what trips most people up. So that's where we start.
You're so smart, and that's so right, and that's why, like, I'm going to refer so many people to you, because as a business coach and a personal brand coach, someone who's built their own brand with no special talent, uh, they want to know how to write a book, and there's a lot to it. And
Mhm.
I've written 8 myself, and they've all changed. One of the things that's changed as well is the length of books. I found that you can get away with a lot shorter book. In fact, I wrote a book with Jack Canfield that I call a pamphlet, and people will tell me that's their favorite book that I've written. And half of me, my ego's like, that hurts my feelings because I spend so much time, energy in writing my books. But the other half is like, cha-ching, right? If
Yeah.
I can put down 42 pages and people love it, why not?
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true because it really isn't about the length so much as what you're saying. It's the impact you can make on people. And sometimes it just takes that one book that will change the way they think, the way they do business, the way they live, everything. So, yeah, I think it's phenomenal. And really, we don't need these. We kind of start out thinking we need these like 400, 500 page books. And we just, it's true. You don't.
Only Obama needs those. We don't.
Right.
That's because he talks so slowly. I have to listen to his audiobook at 3 times speed, by the way,
Yeah.
just to get him normal Dave Meltzer speed.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the other aspects that is teaching people the purpose of their book. You talked about impacting people, and that impact to me directly is correlated to the marketing of the book. And I think there's a complete misperception of publishers and how they market your book and what your expectation is. I have gone both ways. That book behind me, McGraw Hill, right, Advance. I was so excited, and I had shoot, I'm losing my mind. What's the one in San Diego, the spiritual one with Wayne Dyer, the publisher.
Oh,
Uh,
are you thinking Hay House
yeah,
or?
Hay House. So
Yeah.
my original book was with Hay House, and then took back I've gone through it all, but I was so surprised on how much I had to do to market my own book when they've invested all this money into it. I thought, oh shoot, this one's going to be easy because I've always marketed my own books, and it was twice as hard. Do you teach about that portion of it as well, when keeping that in mind when we write it, how we're going to market it?
Oh, yeah, that's a brilliant question. I think a lot of people start writing without thinking about the marketing aspect at all. So then they kind of get to the end and they're like, "Oh, I have to go and sell this thing." So I prefer to think about the selling up front, and that way, you can really create a book that you already have confidence that can sell on the back end. So rather than it being an afterthought, I really do think it's kind of core to everything that you create with your book. So it really needs to come, early on in the process.
One of the other things too is on the marketing side is using your book not to sell.
Yeah.
My greatest sales have come from not selling my book. And
But
when I'm
leveraging it.
it started as a business card, and to create, like you, one of the brilliant things that you do and why I highly recommend your course to people is that it's an amazing branding tool to make yourself an expert or to give and raise awareness to what your expertise is. And I always tell people, whether it be, building on social media or a book or interviews, the truth vibrates the fastest, right?
Yes.
So, people don't realize that just because you follow certain methodologies, if you don't have good ideas, you actually are killing yourself and your brand, because people are going to put your book down and never pick up another one again and say, oh, this is a lousy author. One of
Yes.
the things I realized by taking my time, learning from people like you how to write books, sifting off of all the situational knowledge and dummy tax, was that I need to write good books,
Yes.
because if I'm going to give them away, it's the best marketing tool. I started giving 2 books away to everyone, so they would give one to a friend, because what I realized is the book's good enough that if people read it, they'll either want to buy more and they'll feel as if they don't want to take more for free from me, or they'll just recommend it. And those people don't. I last year, 5 times as many books sold from giving away. And look, I tell everyone, everything I do, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I'll send you, sign you, pay, and I pay for shipping. It's not like a scam where like people are like, free book, but here's $10 in shipping for a $2 book. No, I pay for shipping too, and it's the best marketing dollars that we spent. How do you feel about authors when they come in explaining the business card, the free giveaway, compared to a big retail sale?
Yeah, most people, they are really uncomfortable with this idea of actually leveraging their book instead of selling it. But it's true, that's where we can make so much money. And I don't know, sorry, I don't know what's happening. I'm having like an
I make
allergic
all women
reaction.
cry. Don't worry. I know. You're
I
gonna
think
make
it's,
me cry. It's like an automatic response.
yeah, my eyes are, I think there's like pollen in California right
Oh.
now. And I'm just like, whoo. And I'm getting so emotional talking to you. It's amazing.
Perfect marketing clips.
Yeah, no, I really think that, focusing on the way you can leverage your book for marketing and promotional activities, that is the future. If you're focused on individual book sales, it's going to be a rough road, because yes, that is income. Yes, it's a great thing to have, but you're looking for impact, you're looking to reach more people, and that's where, not selling the book but leveraging it comes full circle. So,
And last thing is community, and understanding that you could have the greatest book in the world, but if you don't have a community, it takes time for that book to reach and build its own community, just like it takes your own personal brand time or a business to grow and to accelerate and segment. How do you manage the expectations? Because people are so emotionally tied to their books. They're so excited about the launch of their book. And I think one of the funniest things is when people launch their first book, I think they get a quick lesson in community, because they realize what happened.
yes, it's so true. We talk about the author platform being such an important part of launching a book. And I think people kind of leave that again to the back end. They don't think about it. With my first book, the way I was able to really make an impact with it was, having a community up front of readers that were excited for the book. So I did this early on in the writing process, starting to build the community up front. And, it just pays dividends on the back end. So I really think it's something foundational as opposed to an afterthought.
Yeah, very much so. And then real quick, 'cause I see we have another minute, is just the
Yeah.
awards. People get tied up into international bestseller, Amazon bestseller, New York Times bestseller, USA Today bestseller, and there's so many different publisher games that are played in the context of these awards. They're very easily manipulated. People, do you think the audience, it carries the same weight as a decade ago that you're a New York Times bestseller, or an Amazon bestseller? Do you think those have diminished or dissipated in their value of being a bestseller, because of the maturation of the market and where Amazon has taken to being a bestseller or a number one new release, et cetera?
It's a great question. I found that still New York Times is the bar, really, and people still think of that as the ultimate, goal, really. Like, to have a New York Times bestseller is career changing and can be career changing, but at the same time, it's still great to bestsell in other areas. For example, Wall Street Journal, still very effective. Amazon still does its thing, and you can use it in different ways. But it's less about that and more about how you're reaching people, because you don't have to necessarily best sell to reach your audience and really land with them. So, and making a difference with them. So I would say think beyond the bestseller. While it's a good and lofty goal, I would say think beyond the bestseller if you can.
Absolutely. I love your philosophy of impacting as many people. And I think because of the way social media and the social media platforms utilize the segment of a market, that we have so much more reach now, that you don't have to have a book on the shelves at the airport, that, out of 6 point whatever billion people, that, a small portion of that resonates, with Dr. Pimple Popper or some other small segment thing that people are interested in. Dr. Pimple Popper can sell more books than Think and Grow Rich someday. Who knows? But or Chicken Soup for the Soul. Anyway, I know people can find you at your name, which is ashleymansour.com. At Ashley M. Writes is your
Yes.
Instagram. Where else can people find you if they want your book, your courses, etc.?
Yes, you want books and courses, etc. Definitely writingcoachla.com is the place to go. That's home base for me. So head over there and you can grab all sorts of cool free resources.
Thank you so much. I didn't know this was going to be such an emotional
Me either.
talk, but I'm sorry for making you cry. You're not the first today or tomorrow. Trust me, I got 3 daughters. I'm an expert at it. I can now do it subliminally. So thank you for joining me, and
Thanks,
I will send
David.
you so much business. I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Ashley. Take care. Bye
Bye.
bye. Awesome. Much needed. So many people want to know. I coach people on writing a book. Send them to that course to get it there. All right. We are on to Vince. People are waiting for Vince. I didn't get even a question in between here. But somebody earlier on was like, I can't wait for Vince. And so I'm going to bring him in here. The incredible Vince Del Monte, talking about faith, fitness, and family. You cannot beat this. The fitness biz results coach. There he is.
What's up?
Vince, you have one of the first pre-followings. I was looking at my comments. People were like, I can't wait for Vince. I was like, let me finish with Ashley. We'll get on to Vince. But this is my coach day, and would love to start with my favorite topic. You and I both are studying and implementing faith. And how you make it applicable to family and fitness. For me, it's an overwhelming nuance to life that I resisted for so many years. So I'm going to start with a real basic question, because people don't, I think, get it. How do you define faith?
Oh man, what a simple question, right? It's something you can't see. I think faith is a muscle. It's something that has to be built on trust. For me, it's trust in a personal relationship with God and through His Son Jesus. For me, it's something I can't see, but I can experience. And just like if you want to grow a relationship, how do you trust somebody? You have to extend them more trust. How do you increase faith in someone and something you can't see? You have to extend more faith. So faith is a belief in something I cannot see, but I can feel, I can experience, and I can live through.
And how do you apply that, first of all, to fitness?
I think for me, I see everything that I have in life is a gift. I think knowing that my talents, my coaches, the environments, those are really gifts to me. I was a former distance runner. So, if you look at the marathon runners, when they go through at the end, they lift their hands up, and there's an element of faith. Like in a marathon, they don't actually ever run 26 miles until the race. Right. So there's a mystery, they've trained up to 20 miles, but many of them are they're running on faith those final 6 miles. And I think that's very similar to life. If I'm not sure if I've got what it takes to get to the end. And I think that's a beautiful picture for fitness as well. There's an element of faith where you're in a state of discomfort and you're not sure, am I going to finish today? Can I get this last set in? And I think that's where, I believe that we're here on life to grow and mature. So these are tests, these are trials. So I think, faith blends perfectly into fitness because it's an opportunity to test ourselves and see what we're really capable of. And there's going to be many instances where you can't rely on your own strength, which is very humbling. And it translates into life where, like, I don't know how I got through that last 2K. There was something under the hood that I tapped into that I've never tapped into before. And I think that's pretty interesting.
I think it's super interesting because the whole paradigm shift in my own life, I was someone who, like a lot of athletes, like a lot of people who are hyper competitive, I'm going to, overcome these mountains in front of me. I'm going to go around it, over it, through it. Nothing can stop me. And when I realized that, I had the strength and power within me from that which made those mountains, however you define it, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever you believe, we all have this within us that made the mountains. You just nailed that faith of, I don't know where this is coming from, or like a David Goggins who says, when you're out of energy, completely ready to quit, you're only 40% of the way there. You right. have this strength in you and through you for others. Now, how do you apply, you talked about, fitness, how do you apply that faith to your family, which is much more subjective in its nature and has multi-variables of multi-personalities and relativity and highly emotional and ego-based? How do you put faith into the context of your family?
Well, for me, I believe that I have an earthly father, but I also have a heavenly father, and I believe I'm his son. So as his son, I want to know, how does my father want to father me? And when I start to learn how he wants to father me, that helps me guide how I want to father my own children, how I want to father how I want to lead my wife, and how I want to lead my kids. So when I think of different character traits, of my heavenly father, one of them is, if I look at how did my heavenly father, live on earth, when he was walking this earth? Well, one, that he didn't want to get put to death on the cross. He asked, can you pass this cup? Like, do I really have to go up on this crucifix? Do I really have to go through this shame and this torture and the most excruciating thing? And I think that is, like, he had to trust his father. And I think for me, I have to trust as well. And my kids need to trust me. So I think there's a big, beautiful picture around, I don't have to have it all figured out. I have to realize that there's, more at play here. I think that's where it helps me lead. I look at how much love I'm extended, how much grace I'm extended. I look at how much guidance I'm provided. And I want to be that then to my family. I want to be a protector. I want to be a provider. I want to be a leader. And I think there's a big element, though, of, I want to be a fighter too, right? I'm going through all this stuff right now with my daughter's principal, where they just mandated the mask for the grade 2s. And he said she can wear a shield, and, she can wear it walking. She has to wear it walking from one class to the next, which is like 10 feet, but they're by kids closer. And I'm like, would my father fight this fight, or would he be compassionate and just kind of let this one go? And I'll be honest, Dave, it's a tough one. I'm like, I have to, like, seek him out and, like, try and listen. And I think, that's another component of your faith in your family, listening. I don't know what the right answer, to be honest, is right now. Do I freak out and send a human rights complaint, or do I have a conversation with him and find out, can we come to a solution here? So I'm not sure sometimes how my father would act. So I think it's okay to also have this dealt in relationship with, telling your kids, hey kids, this is what we're doing, but I got to show up strong, but at the same times I can also be vulnerable.
It's interesting because I even reversed that when I became a parent, and I have 4 children. The way that I felt about my children, whenever I had doubt, I realized that there was a heavenly source, a heavenly father, that felt the same way about me, except for he or she, whatever, has way more power than I have.
Right.
right? It brought a source of faith and confidence into my life, and changed my paradigm to know, because I know how much I love my children and what I would do for my children, but I am, not even into the spectrum of great omniscient infinity of power. And yet I know that that source feels the same way about me. Finally, as we finish up, faith into family, faith into fitness, but also one of the things you and I have in extreme common is faith into finance. You do terrific masterminds, 6 and 7 figure mastermind. I'm actually involved in $100 million mastermind.
Yeah.
I'm a mentor there.
I love one of your calls. Yeah. I got pages from your last call when you did a session. It was amazing.
And so, but a lot of that, as you know, you have pages and notes. I'm a faith finance person, right? I have applied my faith to finances as well, not just family and health and fitness. For you, how does that apply into your 6 and 7 figure mastermind?
I'm reading a great book right now. It's called Double Blessing. It's a pastor, and he speaks a lot about, I think the big thing is, like, for me, I recognize that I don't own anything. I think that took me a long time. Like, I don't own my business. I don't own my house. I don't own my following. I'm in stewardship of all these things. And I believe it's his to give, but it's mine to manage. And I believe that people who manage well are blessed, even, many fold over. And you'll see people that manage their resources and manage their gifts, God blesses them, like double blessing, triple blessing. It's really true. So I think for me, it's just trying to be aware of, like, hey, what have you given me, and how should I be utilizing, what you've given me? And, I believe that if you're faithful with little, you have to first be faithful in little before you can be faithful in much. So I truly, like, I see my money as a way to partner with him. Like, God doesn't need my money, Dave. I got a bit, but he's going to be okay without me. God doesn't need my mastermind. But what he does want is he wants me to partner with him to help expand his impact and his vision and his kingdom. And I want to be a part of that. I would love to see how can I contribute to what you're doing in the world? Like, with or without me, you're going to achieve your mission. I'm curious to know, like, how I can help expand what you're trying to do here with your world. So I see it as an opportunity to partner. And I always ask myself, I heard this from a really smart pastor. He said this, which really struck me. He said, if everyone were to give the same amount as you, so if people were to give based on the size of sacrifice you're making, would the church grow? But you could apply that to, would the world get better? And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm giving comfortably. Like, I can cover the gifts that I give. I'm not actually giving gifts that would be outside my comfort zone, where I would have to say, hey, I'm gonna put this out, but if you want me to give this much, you're gonna have to come through on that one. So I felt really compelled to that. And I started giving at a really young age. My parents had me giving, like, from the age of 15. So, it's probably harder to give $100 or $10 million of, if you're running $100 million business, than when you're first getting started. So it's something I think you need to put in place early on. And it's just, again, it's a way to give back. It's a way to give glory back to the person who gave you all your gifts in the first place. So, and just to give credit, like, hey, I'm super grateful. And I think giving is a strategy. I think the more you give, the more you become grateful.
I love it. And you've written a book, Living Large, The Skinny Guy's Guide to No Nonsense Muscle. You have a great mastermind, Vince Del Monte, 7figuremastermind.com. At Vince Del Monte, people can apply and learn to apply their faith to fitness, family, and finance. You teach just a great vision for people to give their lives away. My name means, David Meltzer means beloved servant. So you and I are on the same mission, me to empower over 1 billion people to be happy by making a lot of money, helping a lot of people, and having a lot of fun. You can't give what you don't have. Vince, you are an excellent example of how we can live our lives in abundance through you for others. Thank you so much for empowering others to empower others. Anywhere else people can reach you? Anything that I missed that you'd like to share with anyone?
The Vince Del Monte podcast, I really love the podcasts. I do three posts a week, and we talk about muscle, mindset, money, mission, and marriage. So, Dave, that would be great. And Instagram, those are my two favorite spots to hang out.
You got it. You got the F alliteration and the M alliteration. This was magic, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me.
Dave, thanks so much, brother.
Peace. Bless you. Bye-bye. Vince Delmonte. He's aligned with the Face family, fitness and finance. Nothing better than a 6 or 7. Oh my goodness, Justin is here. Talk about multi-talented coaches and people talking about giving what you have. My boy Justin Guarini, you may remember, he's a core confidence coach. Confidence is something obviously. Oh my goodness, look at that familiar face.
Hey!
Oh my gosh. My wife is gonna be pissed at me that I didn't tell her that you're coming live with me right now. Oh my gosh. She's a huge fan. Not that I'm not. You know, I'm not one of those guys that are like, oh yeah, my wife's a huge fan. Can I have your autograph?
How you feeling? Thank you so much for having me.
You know, thank you for being there. It just reminded me, you know, my business partner, Warren Moon. It was so funny. We would be out to dinner and some like 6-year-old little boy would come up and say, Mr. Moon, will you sign this for me? And you can see the dad over there. And Warren is just so funny. He's like, sure. He goes, do you know what team I played for? And the kid would say, like, I didn't even know what you do. My dad told me to come over because dad wanted the signature, right? Anyway, I am a huge confidence person. I would love to know. I believe that clarity, balance, and focus is what creates confidence. Yes. Confidence also applies to clearing the interference to what we're already connected to. I believe it's a indicator that you've cleared the void, shortages, and obstacles to what we're already connected to. You've put a framework around, you know, what I believe is the ultimate superpower, besides the superpower that Vince was talking about, but a superpower within us to connect to that is confidence. Number one, I want to ask, you know, how do you jump from American Idol to being a confidence coach? And, you know, obviously in your space, confidence is extremely important, but it seems, you know, a lot of people don't feel confident themselves to make that jump.
Absolutely. Well, the way I was able to really make the leap for it was to go back and really just analyze. And the framework that you were talking about is my 4 C's of confidence. When you talk about clarity, right? That clarity, that was something that's in your clarity, really understanding where you are today in this moment. And not necessarily just kind of, oh, where I am, but getting clear about the facts, right? We talk about truth. What's true for me is not what's true for you, David. It's not what's true for Sophia down there. It's not what's true for your next door neighbor or your father, right? 2020 and the political landscape taught us that truth is this thing that can be sometimes that way, right? But what is clear and what is real are facts, something that is or it is not. So what I love, and when I talk about clarity, it specifically is getting clear on the facts about where you are today, whether that's in your body, in your spirituality, as the gentleman who was on here before was very clear about, which I love and I am in alignment with, and getting clear in your relationships and getting clear in your business. So a roundabout way of answering your question is I got really clear on what it was that allowed me to step in front of 30 million people week in and week out on television and not fall apart. And then from there, over the past 20 years, I've had conversations with a lot of people, and they have come to me and asked me, like, well, what is it that I can do in order to be more confident about this, or my auditions, or my da, 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 da. And so I was like, well, these people keep asking me about the same thing, and I keep telling them, why can I, instead of serving one-to-one, which I love to do, how can I be one-to-many? And so I came up with the core confidence method, which is clarity, commitment, creativity, and certainty, and how to apply those to the 4 key areas of your body, or your life rather, your body, your spirituality, your relationships, and your business.
And you do 1-day intensives on these. You're doing one this Saturday at noon Pacific time, I assume.
No, it's noon Eastern time.
Oh, are you in New York?
Yeah. I'm in Pennsylvania, really. But yeah.
Oh, nice. So I just want to make sure I got that clear. So noon Eastern time. Sure. Now, I'm really, you know, commitment to me is obvious because I'm enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit person. You know, clarity is interesting, but the one that's most often passed, and no doubt an entertainer would throw this into confidence, is the definition of creativity for you. Where does that fall into confidence being creative?
Well, where it falls in for me is when you get clear on the facts, when you make the commitment to yourself or to whatever the people you're trying to serve, whether that's your family or your tribe or whomever, then that opens up the opportunity to become creative, to allow your unique vision, your unique voice, your unique ability to serve. For example, if I wanted to create a program like the gentleman who came on before, it would not look anything like his program, right? We're still working on either building muscle or building that connection with God or whatever you want to call it, Allah, Yahweh, whatever it is for you, right? But we'd come about it in two completely different ways. And so, again, when you get clear on the facts about your body, about your spirituality, about your relationships, about your business, when you make a commitment to a new vision, then you have the opportunity to be creative. And confidence for me, really, at the end of the day, is recognizing your own self-worth and your own value and your own ability to uniquely deliver your message or deliver what it is that you want to share with the world. And so we can come at it a million different ways, but that creativity is the thing that is what's going to make it uniquely our own.
Justin, you have an interesting relationship between the perception and truth, right? You and I both pursue the truth. We pursue this potential that exists. And that's why I always say the what is so important. As you say, clarity comes from knowing your what. You basically describe what I describe as, know what you want personally, what you want experientially, what you want to give, what you want to receive. You got to be really, that's the clarity of it. But certainty is interesting to me because it falls between truth and perception. I always tell people, don't tell me we're in uncertain times, because there's never been certain times. And that, if anybody can tell me exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, email me at david@dmeltzer.com, because I know how to make billions of dollars. I'll make it for you and for me and for charity if you know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. But you include certainty in your core confidence framework. And for me, certainty is a pursuit, number one. And the vehicle that I use in that pursuit is actually forgiveness. I think forgiveness, a lot of people don't realize how certain in you can become when you are capable of forgiving the unforgivable. And that's a big thing for me. How does certainty interplay within the context of clarity, commitment, and creativity, your 4 core principles?
That's a great question. And I have 2 thoughts there based on something that you said. But when I think about certainty, it all comes down to trust, and trust in yourself. That's something that all of us deal with in some area of our lives, whether it's our bodies, what we put into it, right? Or whether it's our spirituality, again, whether that's God, Allah, Yahweh, Buddha, Krishna, anything in between, the great nothing spirit, whatever that is, that bond there. When it comes to trust in our relationships, that's a daily struggle, especially if you're in relationship. When it comes to really trust in our businesses, trusting that we know what it is that we're even talking about, or that an audience is going to respond. So it's that trust in the self, because again, it's this waterfall effect that happens in your life when you get clear, and I mean ruthlessly specific, not only about what you want in the future, but where you are today. Because unless we are clear about the facts of where we are today, then our future is based on fantasy. Right? That's why people screw up their New Year's resolutions every single year, because they don't get clear about where they are, and they just have this beautiful version and vision of themselves that has nothing to do with the challenges that are going on today, right? That block them from getting there. So it's that trust in yourself. And there was something else that you mentioned that I have now.
Forgiveness.
Yes, forgiveness. Yes, thank you so very much for that. I appreciate it. And again, it comes back to the self, forgiveness of ourselves. We have all done things and said things that have caused shame in our lives. And when it comes to my love of finding that confidence, one of our biggest battles that we deal with, and I have a challenge that I put people through and that they accepted last week or so. And the number one thing, emotion that I battle on a daily basis for myself, that I find a lot of my people battling, is shame. Shame And it is so detrimental. And when we can forgive ourselves, when we can forgive the people who we feel victimized by, it is a huge flag that we plant in the ground that begins to eradicate and wear down its shame. Because once we get past shame, think of how many things stop us, whether it's a relationship, or whether it's our body, whether it's our with our kids, you know, whether it's just telling someone, I love you before you walk out the door, whatever that is in our business. Think about shame and how that stops us from doing the things and having the things that we want to have. So that's why certainty and that trust and that forgiveness, as you so eloquently put, is important.
Well, what you teach is so important. Your one-day intensives are so important. What I'm hearing you say, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is your course not only teaches confidence using these 4 C's, but it teaches us at least to explore loving ourselves. You know, I hear this a lot about the worthiness, and, you know, so many people don't feel worthy of even what they've already received. They live in blame, shame, and justification, which creates separation and more interference. They have, you know, that clarity of what they don't want or what's missing or what other people want, and then they're surprised that's what they get, and they're not motivated or inspired to go allow it to happen by creating the voids that we want, a vacuum that we want in our lives. But for me, you know, you have an extraordinary frequency of love. How were you able to, you know, take that transformation? Because I was an imposter, man. I was a multimillionaire in my 20s. I hated myself, and it took serious problems. And I had great success, and everyone thought, man, he must love his life. He's incredible. And I lived my dreams, but I hated myself. And
Yeah.
until I learned to love myself, I truly couldn't give what I didn't have, and was living in blame, shame, and justification. For you, what was one of the keys, or, you know, I'm sure you teach this in your course, to learning to love yourself?
You nailed it right on the head there. That blame and that shame, that game that we play, which is a cyclical karmic loop that we end up in, blame and shame and blame and shame and blame and shame. And so in terms of loving myself, I had to go to the places, much like you did, much like anybody who ever figures it out or is in the process of figuring it out, has to go to the uncomfortable places, has to go into our shame, into our blame, and begin to ask the questions, the challenging questions of ourselves. Is this true? Is this who I am? You know, I've had people who have been abused when they were children, whether that was verbally or physically, and that abuse has set in motion thoughts and programming that says this is who I am based on someone's fist or someone else's word, right? We have to go in and undo that, and systematically, on a day by day, step by step basis, undo all of that, because I too in my 20s was a millionaire. I was living in Bel Air. I love to tell the story, and I won't tell it here because it's too long, about how I was in the wing of my mansion in Bel Air, the most expensive zip code in Hollywood, or one of them anyway. And I was on a Saturday night sitting in my king-size bed with my Egyptian sheet, blah, blah, blah. I had maid service. I had all these wonderful things, and I turned on the TV to watch Saturday Night Live, and on comes Tina Fey reading her headlines from Weekend Update on SNL, and boom, my picture comes up next to her head, and she basically tells the nation that I was dropped from my record label and made a joke. Now, funny, the joke was funny, but at the time it was to me because I found out via SNL that I was dropped from my record label. And in that moment, and sometimes we have those pivotal moments that happen in our life where life comes along, I call it the clarity bus, comes in and and like runs us over. And that was a moment for me where I sat, and after being shamed and feeling shamed again in front of the nation, I was just like, oh my goodness, all of this money, all of this fame, all these clothes, all this car, this house, this that. It wasn't what I wanted at all. It wasn't, and that moment of, right? And we sometimes have to, often than not, hit that rock bottom to really understand, okay, now it's time to make a change. And here is how I begin to love I was in my 20s. What did I know about love, right? But like, I knew that this wasn't working, and I had to find a better way. And so that was the beginning of my journey towards self-love.
I love it. I will send you my book as well as anybody else, because in my section 1, I have very similar story, except for Tina Fey wasn't shaming me in front of everyone or giving me notice I was fired. But everyone, I'm going to borrow, and I'll try to credit you, Justin, as much as I can. I love the Clarity Bus, except I can't do the sound effects just quite as well. Man, how can people sign up for the one-day intensive at noon Eastern time this Saturday?
This Saturday, we're going from 12 to 6. It's a one-day intensive. I've got some amazing people coming by. Frank Lopes, who is the author of The 7-Minute Setup, who is regarded by Forbes as one of the 7 best purchases you could make, the book, in 2021. I have Molly Mahoney, who is a phenomenal live video teacher, Dee Dee Bresky, an NLP trainer. You'll check it out. All you need to do is go to justin.club. Justin.club, super simple, super easy. All you have to do is go there, connect with me, and then boom, go right to the old sales funnel, and you can see everything that the intensive is. It is awesome. I'm excited about it, and it is happening this Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m.
That's awesome. Well, I got a few asks for you before I let you go. I believe in asking. Can't ask big enough. One, I got to have you on my podcast. So this is a great interview. I want to get deeper into your playbook to success.
Please.
And let everyone share that journey. 2, if you ever want me in your intensive, I would love to teach. So just ask, please. It's right up my alley. Anything related to confidence, creativity, commitment, etc. is all up my alley. And then finally, I know I'm watching the notes. This is the big ask. Can you give us just a few bars? Everyone loves your voice. Can you sing something to us? Just one short little. Oh, awesome.
That's what I do, man. Yeah. Somebody, I don't remember who told me this, but I always pass it along. When somebody asks you to sing, in my case, or when somebody asks you to do what it is that you do, do it. Because A, it is always a chance for you to learn something new, potentially. But you never know who's listening, you never know who's watching, and you never know what kind of, selfishly, what opportunities it could open up for you, but what you could open up in someone else's life, right? Just by giving them a moment to stop thinking about all the things we have to think about and the pressures of every single day. So this was actually what I sang for Simon, Paula, and Randy for my audition the very first time for American Idol. It goes a little something like this. When I had you, I treated you bad and oh so wrong, my dear. But since you've been away, don't you know that I sit around with my head hanging down, and I wonder who's loving you. Thank you so very much for having me on.
Oh, the winner of David Idol, Ron Deshay, says hello as well. Good friend of mine.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, man. And you got it. I'll send you a whole list of things we can do together. I love you, man. Thank you so much. And my wife is a big fan, but so am I. All right, cool. Check him out. You got to join. I may show up Saturday as well. So thank you so much.
Please. Yeah, Justin.club. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Justin.club. You got it. Thank you. Unbelievable. You don't find that everywhere. Probably one of my favorite lives ever. Give me a thumbs up if that was one of your favorite lives, because it is mine. We will be replaying this everywhere. Come and go. You got to go to that intensive. It will change your life. I can tell just from the few minutes that we spent with Justin. When you reach or see a higher frequency, your awareness raise, you feel it within. Justin.club, Justin.club. Everybody thumbs up. Happy. What a gracious, unbelievable day with 3 wonderful coaches, all from different dimensions, from writing books to having faith, and then finally to having confidence. This is what I'm talking about. We are here to be of service and of value to others. Thank you. Thumbs up for sure. Remember, it's my mission to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. 1,000 people like these 3 that I know will empower 1,000 to empower 1,000 to be happy. Thank you for all the thumbs up. Soul Power Music, you could not have asked for a better day to come on. If you want my books, guides, exercises, david@dmeltzer.com. Check out the playbook, download it. Spotify, it's featured on Entrepreneur, all of the different places, Google, iTunes. Check it out. The playbook, we're going to have Justin on there. We want more of him, that's for sure. What an incredible spirit. Oh, man. All right, I'm going to take one question and then give one piece of advice as I leave. Uh, Here we go. Best thing you've learned recently. I will tell you it is clarity, commitment, creativity, and certainty create confidence, not just clarity, balance, and focus. There's a million different ways of abundant, limitlessness, infinity of ways to be happy. And that's what I'm learning today. Allow yourself to love yourself. And remember, most importantly, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. I will see you tomorrow.